Hello, everybody. We are here today. This is the Feeling Good Mama, and I am so excited today because I have my great friend and mentor, Helen Hancox. And I just want to say, just right off the bat, this woman has within the past year and a half, maybe, I don't even know exactly when we met. She has been such a huge rock for me. And she pops up uh, uh, almost every day for me in some way to support me. And she has been such an encourager. She is brilliant. She was a single mom, so she understands what being a sole parent is all about. And I think she kind of she is here to encourage me in my path as a solo parent. But along with that, she's building a huge, great brand for herself. And so I'm here to introduce Helen Hancox, all the way from New Zealand. She's close to Wellington, New Zealand, and she has a son who lives in Canada who is thriving and doing very well. Good job, Mama. And so, Helen, I just want to say hello. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Anything you'd like to say? Opening comments?
Oh, I'm pleased to be here, and I love working with you. Your inspiration is good for me as well because you're such a creative person, and that's a balance for me. I'm probably you've noticed I'm a bit more structured than creative, but that finding creative friends is the way to go. So I'm really pleased to be here, and I look forward to our conversation because feeling good as a mama is really important.
It is very important. And I think you and I think we are a little bit of the yin and the yang. I certainly, what I appreciate in you are the things that the talents that I don't have. And I'm always kind of like, how would Helen think about this? Because she's going to be way smarter about this aspect than I would. I'm just kind of like, I'm the free spirit artist that's just like, let's give it a whirl. But you're much more about, let's do this in a structured way. Let's do it the right way. So you kind of help to reel me in. And I know you're going to be helping a lot of other women to reel them in. So we're talking today about organization. And I wanted Helen to come on board today because as a mom, it's so important to be organized, but I think so many of us are just kind of all over the place, and as a business person as well. So Helen, I want to talk about what is it that you do exactly, and you kind of came about it in a roundabout way. What do you do exactly, and then what got you into this?
Well, let me start at the very beginning when I left home and decided I would never be in business. And I went to work for a government sector, and they have very good filing systems. And it seemed normal to me. Move forward to being a single parent and too tired to go and work for anybody else. And I started contracting. By that stage, I was an internal auditor, so I knew about management systems and how things needed to work. And so I just started contracting out, reviewing things. But over time, most people were concerned about finding their stuff. And we're talking about big organizations. They couldn't find their stuff. And I'm thinking, well, why don't you put it away so you can get it back? I mean, it seems like this is obvious. And that's how the Flying Filing Squad, which was my face-to-face company, started. I was doing something I just knew without thinking about. And if you want to be a feel-good mama, the only things I had to learn was how to be in business. And I'm talking about the being in business because it can be quite scary. So from the very beginning, like Eric would have been 2, I was getting helpful advice from his godfather, who happened to be a business person. And then by 2000, I had grown so much, I needed more, and I started investing in myself. So that's how I got there. And we were doing face to face in Wellington very easily, and then COVID arrived. So at this point, I'm still quite structured. I'm just, doing the, as we call it, chopping the wood and carrying the water, because that's all we needed to do with a bit of personality in order to help people feel safe that they would see their stuff again. COVID hit, all that face-to-face stuff just stopped, and I was at a loss. And I was just scrolling through Facebook, filling in time in between walking the dog and weeding the garden, and found online business. I think that's the shortest version. And then eventually I met you through that coaching group. What could I say? It was a turning point, because I suddenly realized that in a physical office they needed it, and we were doing mostly then on their computers, and that there was a possibility to help other people feel good about it. So I started doing research about, so what is it about your business? And often people would come back going they didn't know where to find things, so that doesn't make you feel good. People ended up with court costs because they couldn't find stuff to support court things. But we won't go down that track. But what I realized, and this has only just been recently, and it's probably like you would say that you're a creative, you're more interested in putting your work into that lovely Violet book and that some of those big pictures I've seen you do. Mm-hmm. But you still need to know how to file your paints. I mean, you don't have your paints just higgledy-piggledy. You have some system where you put your paints out. And you have some system about where your paint brushes are, followed by how you look after your paint brushes. Like you wouldn't put the oil-based brush into water to clean it. So there's some of those things you just know innately. And I've been observing that my life is actually quite structured, which is why I know to match my blue socks. And sometimes I push my boundaries and put on a pink sock and a blue sock, different feet, of course. So it's about, where do you find, it's not like Maria Kondo would say, look at these socks and do they give you joy? Well, probably not, but I quite like having warm feet, but maybe that's joy. So I digress a little bit, but it's about, you'll have ways of structuring yourself that mean you are happy, and you can do the same thing with your business, because I know that as a mother, I always knew where everything was in my business. It just makes sense. Is that rambling too much, or is it blending in with feeling good mamas?
Yeah, definitely. I guess, like, from my perspective, I am on the go all the time. And I know a lot of moms are. And, there are the ones who are in business, moms, and the ones who aren't in business. But moms in general are going all the time. And we have to juggle so many different things. And for me, my problem is finding the time. Just like before, literally, like right before we got on, my daughter comes to me and we're talking, and all of a sudden I realize we have missed a big deadline for one of her dance things. We were supposed to sign a contract and submit the contract and money by July 1st, and it totally slipped my mind.
Whoa.
And so all of a sudden we're in a rush last minute to get the documents together. And there's like paperwork flying. She's saying, I need you to sign this over here. We've got to submit it to this person. And then it's time for me to move literally we get that little fire taken care of, and it's time for me to come to you. Well, I had to just like toss all that paperwork. I had to just say, I don't have time to deal with it. I'm on to the next thing. And then next thing you know, I'm on to the next fire. So I've got like all of these unfinished things.
Mm.
So how does someone like me, a mom like that,
Mm.
trying to juggle and take care of so many different things, how do we get organized? Because I know if I was more organized about things, I would be more at peace.
So I have a few things that come immediately to mind. And the first one is I was postnatally depressed in the early stages of Eric's life. And I went to a psychiatrist who gave me a 6-step list of what to do every day in order to be with me. So and that meant that I did eventually come out of postnatal depression. And I can share in your group, I'll have to go and I've got it filed. I haven't got it memorized, but I can pop that into the group because it's about you doing too much is what I'd say. Your kids are probably doing too much. Kids need time to just be bored and review and reflect. So I just cut out the things that were not of importance and just focused on the important things. So one of the women I've worked with, she talks about having a list of what not to do. And I thought that was really good. Now, once again, I could introduce you to Suzanne too, because her focus is on mothers returning into the workforce. And so she's doing a few things about how to feel good as well. But it seems to me like I refused to rush, and I learned how to say no. And if I finished something, I put it away, and it didn't matter if I was going to be late. And I mean, I don't like being late because I was more important than anything else. And I would have had that 1st of July deadline in my diary system with a week warning. You know, so it's a management thing. It's not a filing thing. It's about who's more important here. Well, I am more important than anything else, because if I fall over, my child isn't going to keep standing. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, I always put myself first.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a huge lesson. And that's a very difficult one for me. I might be on the extreme because I'm so passionate about so many different things, and I want to support people and help people on so many different levels. But I do know some other women who are very similar, and they struggle, and they want to be everything for their kids as well, and have their kids have opportunities also. So as far as like, your specialty is kind of filing for business, but I think that can be kind of, your system can be used in life.
Oh, absolutely.
How would you say your system for filing in business would translate into life?
Because I have a whole folder structure for my personal things. So when Eric was doing basketball, the whole schedule for basketball was clicked and dragged over there. These days, you can put them easily into your electronic diary. 35 years ago, they didn't exist. And I'd be managing where I expected him to be. And the other thing is I would only give him one opportunity. I mean, I don't want to wear myself out rushing baby from, I don't know, art class across to basketball, across to swimming. I just didn't do it. Mm-hmm. It was like, you've got a choice, son. What do you want to do? So, I mean, I might have been too rigid on only reducing it to a couple of things, but for God's sake, he was going to school every day. He took himself to school. He loved reading. We would sit quietly reading. So being able to do that stuff was far more important than taking Junior off to speech class or whatever the hell it was. So find the one thing you like doing and let's do it. And he ended up going to America on a basketball scholarship.
Wow.
So he had focused on the thing that he was really good at, but it didn't stop him reading and having a cute sense of humor and those sort of things.
Right.
So just have a solid look at what are you doing and who's benefiting from this and what's the stress level. I'd have a stressometer, because I think you're talking about in a filing system, I can use my filing system to manage my day so that I've written my posts, I know where to go to pick them up, to do them, those sort of things. It's very clear. And you do have, and I have my recipes in my computer. And I've got a naming convention about how I file recipes because I want to find all the chicken recipes in one place. And you can by good naming. It's about how you name it, those sort of things. So, yeah, if you're not having freedom to do the things that you want to do without thinking about business, if you want to have freedom about not worrying about I've missed a deadline, you got to do less. That would be my feeling good mama, because how can you feel good if you're always scattered and rushed?
It's so true. It's so true. I do think sometimes there are seasons, like right now, on top of my regular work, I'm writing a children's book. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? This, when I set out to do this, I did not realize, wow, this is really a lot more work than I thought. And I put some dates on the calendar that I was very, I wanted to stick to those dates to have things completed, which has kind of like compacted everything. Well, I think there are seasons, and I just keep telling myself this is a season of life. Once my book is complete, I can get back to being organized and a little,
You're at a risk there though, Kelly, because what you're saying, when this, then that. Now, it might be that you'd be having a better time as a mama if you took an hour a week to actually sort a little bit.
Yes. And I have been, actually. I've been taking a little time every week, just do a little bit, just to get things reeled in a little bit.
And what can your daughter do? I mean, she's old enough now to do a bit of sorting herself, isn't she?
She is, and she has a real talent for organizing when she has the initiative. She's got to want to do it. Oh, it's I have found with her, if she decides on her terms that she wants to do it, she does a phenomenal job. Just like last week, I didn't say anything. She took it upon herself. She said, I'm going to clean the kitchen thoroughly. Anything on the counter that we don't need, it's going away. And she just did a beautiful job. And I didn't ask her to do it. If I had asked her, to do it, it would have been a different story. But when she comes up with it on her own, she's very thorough and does a great job. So I think that is a real key, Helen, is starting to, at a young age, to get your kids involved in helping you be, or teach them to be organized, and then have them help you.
One of the things I used to do was never to tidy Eric's room, and it was often a mess. And I just shut the door. I said, like, I don't care how you live in there, but you're not living like that out here.
Right.
And that worked quite well. He's now, as an adult, quite tidy in his room. So
it wouldn't take long, I bet. It would get to a certain point where he was like, I can't handle this anymore. And he would straighten it, right?
Yeah. And I didn't nag. So as a mother, I was feeling, I'm not nagging. And I also know the other thing that helped me feel good was because I was working for myself. He would bring himself home from school once he grew old enough just to go backwards and forwards himself. And I would, do the afternoon tea bit, but I would be preparing dinner and I would be chopping the carrots and the peppers and those sort of things and just putting them on a plate and not moaning as he was snacking on them, because it's the sort of thing I wanted him to be eating. And he never noticed really that he was, because there was no, you've got to eat your greens, which was what I was brought up with. You find some cunning and creative ways. So you say, I am creative in a mothering sort of way.
Yes, you most definitely are. You've got a lot of, I think you've got a lot of finesse in with a lot of things. You definitely think differently than I do, which I appreciate so much. So often you'll say something and I'm like, that is just such a clever perspective. Why why does my brain not think in those terms? And I've really taken a lot of different things that you have said over our time and put them to use. So I want to talk a little bit about the changes over your career, from going from paper hard copies to this age of computers. How what have been some of the challenges, what has helped, and how, in regards to feeling good, are you for all of this, or because sometimes personally I'd like to go back to just a ledger and
Yes. Well,
hand.
you can. I mean, you don't have to do your keeping business keeping stuff in electronically. You could print it out and put it in a file, but I bet you'd never put it in the file. You'd have a heap of paper that you didn't know where the hell to put it. Am I right? That wouldn't
Well,
make you feel
not
good.
exactly. I am a filer. It just sometimes it takes a while to get it to the file.
Yeah, exactly. And that becomes disheartening.
Yes, it definitely becomes disheartening. Like, I have a stack of papers and they just need to go in the folder. There is a folder for them. They just need to go in there.
You
And
could coach Olivia to do that.
you're right. That's a really good idea, because she would enjoy that very much. And yeah, that's a really good idea. I think one of the big takeaways here is I think probably I didn't start Olivia early enough learning to to file and be organized like that, because she was 5 when her dad died, and literally, like, for I would say 4 years, it was just like a bomb had gone off.
Yeah.
And so it was just, I mean, it was just like, let's just stay alive.
Yeah.
Forget the file.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing, what you've just described about her taking the initiative to sort the kitchen, and she's put things back to where they need to be. She's got it. So it's that thinking, eh? Because I file my fridge, for God's sake. When I do my week's cooking, it's batched, it's in the fridge. But when it comes to digital filing, it's actually, because I'm not a geek, nerdy IT person who says just put it there and keyword search, you'll find it. Well, you'll only find it if you throw it into the big pool, if you've spelt the words right. And so if you're writing American English as opposed to the King's English, all of those sort of things. So for me, it's the same as what I had on my shelf. I had, this is thinking business, but also personal. You have a filing structure whereby it might be admin. And you could call it admin. You don't have to call it administration, but in administration, you might have your bookkeeping, your invoices, your whatever, because it is about admin. And then you know in your mind where to look. And if you don't know in your mind, you can go to a list which tells you where to go. And that's different to what geeky boys would do. They would just create folders and throw it in. And you don't need to. So my business about filing for success has got one folder called Filing for Success. And then under it, I've got the presentations that I do in my master classes. I've got these things that are what I do in my business, which may be different to what you do in your business. And it's just the same as when I had shelving, but I no longer need 20 linear meters of shelving to have them all sitting there. So the beauty of the computer is and I can pick it up and take it away with me.
Yes, definitely. I think it's easier to go in if you have an issue with a file. It's easier to go in and make changes now too, where before you had to go in, find the piece of paper, whatever, retype it and so that
and also, I mean, it gives you great pleasure, I can only say. If you've got some things that will always be the same, you just have to enter in different names, then you create a template. And then you open the template and save it as Helen Hancox, whatever, because a lot of those things you're going to say are identical. So there's sort of little hints and tips you can use in your filing. Yeah.
Someone has asked a question. How often do you purge or decide when to get the old out?
Right. Well, that depends on your legal and ethical responsibilities for your records. So if you're a coaching person and you've got private information about Helen Hancox and her postnatal depression and her suicidal attempts or whatever, depending on what you're doing, you are required to keep that secure. And there's the European Data Something or Other Act. And if you don't keep them secure, and if somebody steals them, now think Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Google have all been taken to court and fined billions of dollars because they did not keep their records secure in some transfer process. So it depends, and it depends on the legislation within your organization and your country. So you need to know the tax laws in your country. But on the other hand, there's a way of describing things that are no longer administratively required. And if you've named them using a naming convention, then you, on your computer, you can go searching for dates, and you've decided that after 6 months, you'll never need it again, then you can destroy them. So it's about, you need what they call a retention and disposal schedule, but there are some things I would never throw out.
Now from a Marie Kondo perspective, maybe this is not like really sensitive information, but it's just stuff that you save, and it's stuff that just seems to pile up, like from an emotional standpoint. Like for me with this question, I have a lot. I mean, I hate to say that there is a family tradition of keeping in my family, if it has any sort of sentimental value, you don't get rid of it at all. Oh, so and so touched that. We can't get rid of that. So and so wore that, dress. Can't get rid of that. And so eventually that can start to kind of drive you a little bit insane after a while. So when I look at this question, how often should you purge or decide to let go, from like an emotional feel-good standpoint, what do you think? Like, what would Marie Kondo or Helen Hancock say about releasing things that you're maybe holding on to that are not healthy to hold on to?
Look, this is really personal to me because I've spent since 2012 going through my mother's stuff. So when we sold the house and I had all these boxes, that's a short version. So I'm down to, oh dear, what will I do with the family photos? I actually don't care. But I know who these people are. So I've got the hard copies And I've decided that as the last remaining person who knows who they are, and there's somebody out there who cares, because he keeps telling me, I'm going to scan them and name them and send them to him and say, if you want the hard copy, I'll mail them. So it doesn't give me joy, but I have an archival attitude that somebody out there really wants it. So that's important to me. I also look through the things I've saved in my own electronics. So every house I've ever bought, the details about that house are just there because, I own this house. But all of the invoices about repairing this and doing that, gone. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the inevitable downloads of free things that you pick up as people use them as a way to engage, look, I'm just throwing them out now. Mm-hmm. Because I've never read them. And I can tell I've never read them because there's no indicator. The things that I've found that are important to me, I tend to scan. And then I've got a folder where I've got the important Hancox history or the bunker history. But it becomes a very personal thing if you have no legal requirement to keep it. See where you go if you destroy the contract and you're taken to court. Mm-hmm. You've got no hope at all of getting out of a court case. And I've had a client that's had that happen. So it's a matter of weighing up. And it's something you can learn because you can have, we used to have for physical filing, a checklist about whether or not it was worth putting away. And you could develop that sort of checklist for yourself as well. The other thing is that if you're an older person like me, you've got to take into account whether or not the children might like them. Well, I know that my child does not give a damn, basically. So it's like, it's gone. But it's never thrown out. Like, what am I going to do with my mother's wedding dress from 1943?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I found somebody out there who thinks it's a good thing to have 1943 wedding dresses because it's a history. It can go into a museum. Mm-hmm. So I'm always considering. So it'll depend on whether the mamas in your group have that generational stuff coming through, because I've got grandparents, parents, me, and a child that doesn't care. That's okay. I'm saving things that I think he will care about. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that, then you may not have anything. And also ask me. I mean, send me a little message. I'm happy to respond to any queries about what would you do with. Mm-hmm. But often it comes down to, what is the significance? Why would anybody want this?
It's definitely a skill. And I think that it is something that people should really take seriously, of getting organized with their life. For me, it's been like 7 years of, I'm so much better than I was 7 years ago, but it has been such a process. And I will say, Helen, before Sean died, before my husband died, I was very organized. I was in administration, my job, before he died. And, I had to be very organized there. And I was very organized with our finances and, everything. And then when he died, it just literally I was so blown out of the water. And I think from that, I started to create bad habits. I think that's something that can happen a lot to moms. They have kids, especially with multiple kids. That can be a situation, certainly, where you're blown out of the water and you just start whatever. And I think you can tend to start creating bad habits. You might have been organized before, and then all of a sudden life happens and you start creating bad habits. So I think as far as like feeling good, I think what you do is extremely important And I think it's a skill everybody should work on, but especially moms
Yeah.
and women in business.
Absolutely. And what I would say to that as well is to have a serious look at what you can get rid of. Now,
Mhm.
if you're actually being the taxi, zipping people, to and from things, and three different children going in different directions, it's too stressful for everybody. And
Mhm.
there's certainly a lot of research that indicates that having quiet time, I don't know about babying in America, but in New Zealand, when baby was just little, there was this whole thing about baby needs to rest and review and reflect. It's how they learn. But then suddenly they become 4 or 5 and they've got to have every moment of their day filled in. Well, no, they need to have time to sit and review and reflect. So
Mhm.
grateful that the whole television thing wasn't a big deal when I was parenting, because that must make life fairly hard.
Well, and today it's gotten even crazier with computers and
Mm,
iPads and cell
mm,
phones. It's even more insane.
mm,
Just it's literally just stuff coming at us
mm,
constantly, and a lot of peer pressure. Peer pressure because all of your friends have whatever tablet, and
mm.
so that's a whole other thing that parents have a struggle, challenge
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days. And it's creating a lot of distractions. So, kids are distracted. They can't think about organizing their lives because,
Mhm.
and mothers too, because
Mm,
they're just distracted.
yeah.
So many things to think
Mm.
about and look
Yeah.
at. And
And at worst, their eyesight's affected.
definitely,
So you've
definitely.
got to get out and play rugby or whatever it is you do in America. It's
We
something else.
really do need to I do feel like as a society we need to calm it down.
And
Calm
having
it down. So I love the idea, Helen, of you being the Marie Kondo of filing and organizing. I think that's brilliant, and I think that you are the one for it. No doubt
thank
about it
you.
in my mind. This is a topic I was getting very I'm thinking of
Mm,
other questions to ask, and I could just keep going, but we were only going for 40 minutes today. So, I want to talk about anyone out there who is interested in joining in on your enterprise. I know you have a webinar coming up, so take a few minutes, talk about this webinar, the dates and all of
ah, so I can't convert this into your time, but it's on Wednesday, the 12th of July at 11:15 a.m. The Filing for Success Masterclass is going to be on, and the focus on that masterclass is really about the benefits for you getting clients, improving in your confidence, and having freedom. And my stand on freedom is not this laptop lifestyle, travel the world rubbish. It's about freedom is what you do when you are not thinking about your business. Because I have experienced that rushing around trying to pick up Eric and thinking about the business. So that's my definition of freedom. And my avenue to achieving that is to sort your shit out and get your filing sorted. And you don't have to spend 4 weeks. You get a brand new system, and there's ways. When you join the masterclass, you will receive the do it yourself bundle with instructions on what to do. So that's possible. I can give you the link and you can put it into your group if you would like. There's an early bird available right now.
that.
And the thing is that it's fun. It not only is it fun, but the satisfaction of when you think, where is that contract? I know it's in contracts, it's there. Oh, here it is. It's just, I just feel my toes are curling with pleasure just thinking about
So we will I want you so everyone out there, a lot of my people are US. So Helen is actually Let's see.
So today, right now, it's 10:40. So what time is
10:40 on Thursday,
it?
10:40 a.m.
On
So
third,
it's
yes, on
10:40.
Thursday.
So, and it's 6:40 p.m. Wednesday here. So you are
We'll be looking at 7:15 p.m.
like 14 hours ahead.
Mm.
I think. I think that's right. 14 hours
Mm.
ahead. So if you guys think about it, 11:15 a.m. on Wednesday, back that up 14 hours. I think I've got that right.
Mm.
Anyway, I will put Helen, make sure you get the link for that to me.
I'll give it
I
to
will
you.
put that in our Feeling Good Mamas group. And for any of you guys interested, also, I want to invite you guys, please friend Helen and follow her on her Facebook page. It's just Helen Hancox,
Yeah.
and friend her, start to follow her. She puts a lot of really great
Mm.
content out about organizing and just getting your life and your finances and your business straight. And so she's a great resource, especially for my mamas out there.
Yeah. And
Helen,
I've lived experience. I
yes.
know what's happening.
Yes, she
Yeah.
most definitely has. And you've just done a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of you. I'm just so honored to call you my friend and my mentor. You have helped me and supported me so much. I
Um,
appreciate you so much coming on this show today. And I really enjoyed it very much.
yeah.
It's kind of crazy, the topic of filing, you
Mm.
know, to a lot of people that would be kind of boring, but I think when you start to really think about it and you see, wow, that could really like make my life
Mm.
so much easier and just feel so much better, it starts
Yep.
to become a pretty interesting topic.
And if you use a recipe analogy, you don't get the best possible casserole until you've chopped the meat and chopped the onions and done this and done that. Well, the end result is where you've filed your documents. It takes perhaps some boring bits to get you to an end result that means that you feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think of, it will allow you to like go off. Like yesterday, we had our big 4th of July
Mhm.
holiday. I actually did turn everything off, which was really nice. It's hard for me to turn things off, but I think if your life is organized, it's much easier on a day like the 4th of July to just
Yeah.
go off, turn everything off, and you're like, my life is streamlined and easy. So that's what I want for everybody.
Me too. And it's possible.
Yes, it's possible. Okay, so someone else wrote, so what I need to I'm not sure I quite understand their question. So what I need to prioritize time for. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand if that's a question or a comment. Anyway, thank you
Mhm.
for that person's response there. I'm not sure what that is.
Well, it is, if you don't prioritize getting it sorted, you won't be having a feel good time.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So take the time to
Mm.
organize what may not be the funnest stuff so you can make more room for the really fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much, Helen. You and I will be talking for sure. We go back and
We
forth
will.
a lot.
Yeah, we
Yes, I
will.
enjoy that very much. And for you guys, if you're interested, I am Kelly Anderson. This is the Feeling Good Mama. Please, if you're not already a part of our community, please, I'd love to have you join our group. And we have this YouTube channel, and we are trying to build and grow. And Helen, please look her up, friend her on Facebook. And don't forget, it's going to be Tuesday the 11th for us US people. I will get the link if you're interested in joining in on Helen's webinar for filing for success. I will get that link for you guys. I'll post it in our Feeling Good Mamas group. And you can message me and I'll get it to you. So thank you so much, Helen. With that, I will say good night here in the US and good morning in New Zealand.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.